Comic book influence is everywhere. You see it all the time in all the media you watch, be it movies, TV, and with all that influence, people are wanting to go back and read the comics that these stories come from. The one question that I always get is, where do I start? There's so much to read, there's so much history, it's too much. Where do I start? So, let's get into where the heck you start. Now, before we start talking about what comics you're going to read, where you're going to pick up, we're going to take this right back to the basics, and we're going to talk about how to actually read a comic book. I know it sounds simple and it sounds obvious, but for many people, looking at a page of a comic book is really overwhelming. There's a lot of art, there's a lot of panels, and there's a lot of text and thought bubbles skewing about, and it's hard to know where you should be going. It's not as hard as you're making it in your head. All you need to remember the entire time you read a comic, if you get confused, left to right, top to bottom. Just like reading a normal book or reading normal print. You start with the panel towards the top in the left. Within that panel, you start with whatever words are near the top and to the left. Then you move through that panel, left to right, top to bottom. And then from that panel, you go to the next one, either to the right. If there's not another one to the right, you go down. Just like that, just easy, just left to right, top to bottom. It can get a little confusing at times. Sometimes you just need to read stuff. Read it over again. It's just that easy. So, now that we know how to actually read a comic book, we're going to get into the next tip that we've got, and that's that graphic novels and trade paperbacks are your friends. Jumping right into the world of single issues can be so overwhelming. There will be a giant shelf of new issues every week. It's a lot to look at. Don't worry about that. What I want you to do is go over just a little bit and look at the graphic novels. Sometimes they're called trades, means the same thing, don't worry about it. Basically, what a graphic novel or trade paperback is a compilation of single issue comics, just bound into storylines. So instead of reading issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, you'll pick up a graphic novel or trade paperback that is volume 1 and will have issues 1 to 6 or 1 to 11 bound in it. It makes it a lot easier when you're starting out to read graphic novels because you don't have to try and hunt down all the single issues and you don't have to worry about where a storyline starts or ends. That graphic novel or trade paperback is going to be typically the start and end of a storyline. Now, you might be asking yourself, where the heck do I start with a graphic novel? You told me to get this graphic novel or these trade paperbacks, but now I don't know where to start. And that's going to bring us to our next thing. Don't worry about the history. Pick up a storyline that seems interesting to you. It doesn't matter if it's in the current continuity of Batman or if Spider-Man number whatever overrode it so it doesn't matter anymore. Does it seem interesting to you? Start there. It's just that easy. You don't have to worry about what matters in the comic book world because you just have to worry about what matters to you. That's what's more important, what storyline's more interesting to you. Now, as you start learning and reading more into the comics, you may want to look up, hey, what came before this? What is relevant to the new single issues that are coming out now? And that's where you start to Google and look back, but right now you're just trying to get into comics. You're just trying to read some storylines and stuff. Don't worry about history. Now that you've read some trades, you've done a little bit of research into like what kind of history happens, say for a character like Batman. Now you're ready to start reading single issues. You're interested, you want to be caught up on what's current and what's new right now, but you don't know how the heck to start. I'll go into a video later all about reading single issue comics and how to get started and where to start and when to start and all that stuff. But for right now, the biggest piece of advice I can give you, the thing that'll make your life so much easier, is setting up a subscription with your local comic book store. Basically, all it is when you go in, you give them a list of the comics you're interested in reading. Say it's Amazing Spider-Man, Batman, Nightwing, etc. You just give them this list. Say, hey, this is what I'm interested in reading. Can you set up a sub for this for me? Basically, what happens is the comic book store will set aside the single issues that you're looking for the titles you're looking for. So every time a new issue of that title comes out, they will put it in your file. So say Nightwing 45 comes out later this month and you want to make sure you get it, they'll put it aside for you. because they have the list of things you're reading and they want to keep you up to date. So they'll keep putting them aside. Typically, you have to pick them up once a month, just as a heads up. Be a good comic book reader. Pick them up once a month. Support your local comic book store, all that good stuff. But it's just that easy to stay up to date. My last tip is that comics aren't only superheroes. There are as many genres of comic as there are genres of regular books or TV shows or movies, anything. Anything that you can think of, there is a comic for you. So if you're getting a little bored or you want to just try something other than seeing a guy in a cape and cowl beat up the Joker for the millionth time, ask the folks working at your local comic book store. They have the knowledge and the capability to help you out, and they are there to help you. That's literally their job. If they're not helping you, it's a bad comic book store. Find a different one. The last thing I'm going to talk about really, really quickly is that nobody's an expert. I'm not an expert. The people at your local comic book store aren't an expert. The people who write the books are not experts. Nobody knows everything, and nobody will know everything. There's too much. It's too hard. So don't worry about trying to know everything about any particular character, publisher, anything like that. Don't worry. Just read what you enjoy and enjoy what you read. And that's everything for how to start reading comics. It's just that easy. Now, if you have any questions that I haven't answered in the video, feel free to leave a comment below or catch me on my Twitch channel. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday over at twitch.tv/noisemonster and love talking about comics with anybody who wants to come on in. The link will be in the description below. If you like this video, subscribe to this channel. There's going to be a whole bunch more videos coming out that'll be trying to help people get started reading Batman or how the Comic-Con works or anything like that. There's going to be a whole bunch more. Also, if you have suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.